One question I get all the time as a Qigong teacher is how do I balance Qigong with my other fitness routines, whether it's Pilates or yoga or weightlifting, some sort of resistance training? I think these can be difficult to synergize. I've definitely had my own challenges. I really like to weightlift and snowboard and do martial arts and all sorts of other ways that I like to train and be active besides just Qigong. So I've thought a lot over the years about how to synergize these most effectively. Um, so let's just talk about weightlifting mostly, or resistance training primarily here. That's the main other form of training that I like to do. I do it almost every day. Um, and there's a bit of contention with this in Qigong. So sometimes in the world of Qigong, you'll hear people say you shouldn't be doing resistance training, especially weightlifting, because it tightens up the body, it restricts the flow of qi. It makes the muscles bigger, which then the muscles require more qi, so you're kind of using up some of your qi, in particular your spleen qi or your sort of digestive qi to fuel those muscles. So there are some caveats. So if you want to be like a professional bodybuilder or really go all out building muscle, this will be a bit antithetical to your Qigong practice. It will make you tighter. It will, I believe in Qigong, they say, the goal of Qigong is to make it so that your muscles are like wire wrapped in cotton. So you have this stringy, wiry sort of tendon power locked in the middle of your muscle and down your tendons that makes you sort of bouncy and springy and very strong, but the muscle around that tendon and that springy bit is like cotton, and so it makes your body kind of soft and relaxed at the same time. And this is optimal for qi flow. Whereas in Qigong, they'll say that lifting weights makes your muscles more like cotton wrapped in steel. So the wire or the steel is on the outside and the cotton's on the inside. And they say this isn't like the best thing for the flow of qi. But then from a Western perspective, as far as longevity goes, one of the best markers for longevity, or the two probably best studied markers that have the most evidence for longevity, is the amount of muscle you carry, your muscle mass and your VO2 max. Those are the two best markers for longevity. So I think there's like a 500% increase in or decrease in all-cause mortality if you're carrying more muscle mass or have higher VO2 max. I can't remember quite all the numbers, but it's well beyond the benefit you get from not smoking or eating healthy or being gluten-free or any of those things. Your muscle mass and your VO2 max, aka your cardiovascular endurance, are actually better predictors of how long you're going to live. Now, the causation may be sort of be getting backwards there in the literature. Maybe being healthier causes you to have a higher VO2 max and carry more muscle naturally. But maybe it's a two-way street. But either way, in the West, it seems, in Western sort of medicine, it seems to be sort of well established that actually carrying more muscle, having better cardiovascular endurance is better for your health and longevity. So how do we wed these two concepts? Well, so first off, like, should we be doing endurance training or resistance training at all in conjunction with the Qigong practice? And the second question would be, if we are going to do those things, how do we make it work with our practice, just practically? Which order do we do them in and whatnot? So first off, I would say there is an extent to which you can weight train and resistance train or do cardio and endurance training where it will start to negatively impact your qi. I'd actually say even in the short run, if you go spend an hour in the gym doing bench press and deadlift and a bunch of really exhaustive exercise, when you come out of that, you've very much invigorated your qi. Like, you've gotten your qi moving, but you've also really depleted your qi. It uses a lot of energy to do that. So that's where your nutrition comes in. So I think you really want to be making sure that the nutrition you're eating is very digestible. It's not your nutrition is not adding stress to your digestive system. This is what so many people in the world of weightlifting and bodybuilding do, is they'll be like, oh, well, I got to eat X amount of protein. And so you just fill yourself with crappy protein bars with fake sugars and protein shakes with all kinds of fillers and additives in them. So I would say you really want to be making sure you're eating as much easily digestible whole foods as you can. So, eating brown rice and undercooked broccoli and like tough dry chicken breast might be whole food, but it might not be very digestible. And so you may want to eat foods that are very easy to assimilate and absorb and digest, that help you to fuel the energy and the protein and everything that you need to build that extra muscle mass. And you'll also want to be doing extra stretching. So if you're going to be tightening things up with lots of resistance type training, you'll also want to, as part of perhaps your Qigong practice, to focus a little more on the Dao Yin side, the yoga like side of Qigong, where we're stretching out those muscles, making sure that they're staying limber and flexible and relaxed as we're growing bigger and stronger. With endurance, it's very similar, but less of the tightness, although perhaps in the lower body, you might need to continue doing lots of stretching. But again, as far as your energy expenditure and calorie intake, you want to make sure that as you're eating those extra calories to fuel those workouts, that you're making sure that those are very absorbable. You want to have high assimilation ability. So eating things that are, pre-digested for you through cooking, eating foods that don't have a lot of anti-nutrients, like undercooked or not cooked vegetables or undercooked grains, or even sometimes whole grains and legumes can be kind of tough on digestion. So it's all very, very particular to the individual, but just checking with your digestion. Are you constipated? Do you have diarrhea? Are you only pooping every 2 or 3 days? Do you have gas? Do you have bloating? Do you have pain in your guts? All those are signs that what you're eating may not be optimally digestible for you. And so just, as that extra nutrition is coming in, making sure you can actually absorb it. So outside of that, just not overtraining, making sure the nutrition matches the needs created by your training, and also ensuring that you're keeping limber in the areas that you're tightening up should mitigate most of the issues that might arise from fitness training of any sort. And then comes the practical, how do we implement this? How do we do Qigong and then do we run and then do Qigong, or do we do Qigong and then go lift weights, or how do we organize that? And I'd say that very much depends on your schedule, how much time you have. For me, I like to do sort of 2 training sessions. I consider it sort of my yin and yang of training. So I'll typically, wake up and do my Qigong and my meditation and prayer and sort of the more like yin oriented activities that build me back up, build up my energy, build up my chi and my spirit. And then later in the day, usually sometime around lunch, that's when I'll do my more yang training, where I'm doing weightlifting or cardio or jujitsu or things like that. And that very much follows like the chi of the universe, I suppose, where in the morning, where we're kind of closer to sunrise, or the chi is very balanced in the atmosphere. The sun it's not the middle of the sky, it's not the middle of the night. It's just a very balanced time, and that's where we can really harmonize yin and yang and get a lot out of our practice. And then in the afternoon, when the sun's at noon, it's the highest point in the sky. That's where the most yang energy is available. And so that's when I usually do my most yang training, or that's what I like to anyways. I usually find if I save the Qigong for around lunchtime, I'm too rearing to go. I got too many things I want to do. I'm too engaged with life and with the world to kind of slow down and retreat inside. So that's just for me. I like to do it either that way or do my Qigong in the evening. Again, when kind of the energy is a little more yin or balanced, and do the physical training, usually either again at lunch or do that in the morning. I do find it a lot easier to do physical training in the morning than in the evening. So that's how I like to organize it. But a lot of people don't have time for 2 training sessions. I've definitely found this over the last couple of years since having a baby. It's very hard to squeeze in 2 sessions. So in that case, you might need to kind of compress them into 1. So in that case, what I really like to do is to do the physical training first, whether it's the cardio or the resistance training or whatever. Do that first. Maybe start with some Qigong warm-ups like silk reeling, and then go into your physical training, and then your flexibility training, whether it's Taoist yoga or whatever you do for flexibility, and then more into our traditional Qigong standing postures, moving meditation, seated meditation, whatever that is. So I pretty much like to go from yang to yin in general when I do Qigong, but if I want to add something extra yang like strength training, that'll go at the beginning in that yang phase. And then you're kind of winding down and cooling down from there. So by the time you get to the end of your practice, your heart rate is very steady, and you're very calm going into your day instead of being all like jacked up from your workout and then like going and yelling at people or something. You can bring that sort of sense of calm with you through the rest of your day. So if you do that, I do find that it's helpful to have some kind of easy to digest carbohydrates like some coconut water or something on hand, maybe a protein shake, something like that, so that as you're kind of finishing up that very yang part of your workout, you're not then trying to do your Qigong and your meditation with like low blood sugar, basically. So kind of having something to refill or keep up the blood sugar as you're kind of finishing that intense workout. It's very hard to find that inner calm and balance when our blood sugar is not balanced, when our blood sugar is crashing. So just maybe having something to kind of keep you steady throughout your workout, especially because it might be a bit of a longer workout because you're doing so many different things. That'd be the last thing I would say is if you're short on time and you have to combine these things into one training session, you may also have to not do as much of any one of those things. So you may have to, if you want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you probably can't be doing like your weight training and your Qigong and everything all in one go. More than likely, you're going to have to do a shorter weight training session. Maybe that's 20 minutes of strength training or whatever your physical training is. Whereas normally maybe you do 40 minutes or an hour. Maybe that's just 20 minutes of that and then 20 minutes of Qigong or something along those lines if you're shorter on time like that. So you kind of might have to just kind of lower the bar for what your goals are, maybe go into more of a maintenance phase where you're just sort of maintaining your strength levels or maintaining your meditation ability or maintaining your levels of Qi and not really trying to necessarily grow in any of them if you're going through a phase of your life where you just don't have as much time. So we're just lowering that bar, condensing things and doing it that way. So hopefully that gives you some good inspiration for how we can sort of organize our practice around the other things that we have available to us in this modern world. There's so many ways to train, so many ways to optimize and improve yourself physically, mentally, spiritually. And so we just want to be smart and well organized about how we plan these protocols and whatnot and get the most out of our training. Thanks so much. I'm Nick Lafferty. And if you'd like to optimize yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, here on this channel, I have all kinds of routines to get you going. So feel free to peruse the channel, maybe hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you around for some training.